I woke up in his skin, tasting the stale bourbon on his tongue. And the first thing I did was wire $1.2 million from his offshore slush fund straight into a ghost account I'd buried years ago, his empire's lifeblood. Gone in 60 seconds flat. They say revenge is a dish best served cold. But I served it frozen solid, laced with arsenic, because the man whose body I now wore had spent 5 years paying me pennies to lick his boots while he built his throne on the bones of my stolen dreams. And as the alarm screamed across the trading floor below, I leaned back in his leather chair, lit one of his Cubans, and whispered to the empty room, "Welcome to hell. Victor, I've got the keys now." It started in the fluorescent hell of Apex Capital's mailroom, back when I was Mila Voss, the invisible girl from the Rust Belt trailer parks of Ohio who'd clawed her way to New York with nothing but a community college diploma and a fire in my gut that burned hotter than the summer subways. Apex was one of those Wall Street behemoths, the kind where suits worth more than my mom's house got tailored on the company's dime, and the air smelled like money and desperation. I was 23, fresh off the Greyhound, answering an ad for administrative support that turned out to be sorting junk mail for 75 cents an hour. Yeah.
You read that right.
Less than minimum wage because they classified it as internship experience. Victor Hale, the Golden Boy CEO, spotted me on day one. He had that shark smile, the kind that promised the world if you played your cards right, and I was dumb enough to believe it. We met in the elevator, him reeking of cologne and entitlement, me clutching a stack of envelopes like they were my lifeline. "You look lost, sweetheart," he said, eyes raking over me like I was the next merger target. I laughed it off, nerves, mostly, but he didn't. By week's end, he had me assisting in his office, fetching dry cleaning, typing memos, and enduring his jokes about how a girl like me could never hack it in the big leagues without a sugar daddy's help. It escalated fast. Late nights turned into whispered invitations to his penthouse, where the city lights twinkled like distant stars you could never touch. He called it romance, I called it survival. Victor was 35, divorced twice, with a Rolodex full of senators and a yacht in the Hamptons. I was his dirty little secret, the mailroom mouse he paraded at dive bars off the clock, paying me that insulting wage to keep me hungry, dependent, humiliated. But Victor had layers, rotten ones. 6 months in, he pulled me into a special project. Apex was cooking the books, massaging earnings reports to pump the stock, hiding toxic assets in shell companies overseas. It was fraud on a scale that could have tanked pensions for thousands, but Victor spun it like a game. "We're moving mountains,
Mila.
you and me against the dinosaurs." He needed a fall guy, someone expendable. That's where I came in. He forged my digital signature on the transfer logs, buried my IP in the audit trail. If the SEC came knocking, it'd look like the lowly intern had gone rogue, not the wunderkind CEO with the corner office. I found out too late, buried under a mountain of NDAs and his pillow talk promises of forever. The betrayal hit like a freight train when the feds raided the building one rainy Tuesday. Victor denied everything, his lawyers painting me as the desperate climber who'd cracked under pressure. I took the plea deal, 2 years probation, a felony record, blackballed from every finance job in the tri-state area, while he got a slap on the wrist and a promotion to managing partner. I vanished after that, holing up in a roach motel in Queens, scraping by on gig economy scraps, Uber Eats runs at 3 a.m., ghostwriting LinkedIn profiles for wannabe influencers. The rage festered, a black hole in my chest. Victor? He thrived. Apex stock soared, He bought a second yacht, married a Botoxed socialite half his age, and started a podcast about disruptive leadership that got him TED Talk invites. I stalked him online. Every like and share a fresh cut. That's when I met Lena. She was a ghost in the machine, a hacker collective dropout who'd washed up in the same digital underbelly forums I haunted. Lena was brilliant. A prodigy with a PhD in quantum computing she'd traded for dark web gigs. We bonded over cheap ramen and shared vendettas, hers against big tech surveillance, mine against Victor's empire. It was Lena who pitched the swap. Not some sci-fi body snatch. This was cutting-edge black market neurotech. A neural lace implant that hijacked synaptic pathways via targeted EMP bursts. It's like Inception meets Black Mirror, she said, eyes gleaming in the dim light of her Astoria walk-up. We sync your brainprint to his, fry the connections just right, and boom, you're piloting the meat suit. He'll wake up in yours. Disoriented. Powerless. The tech was experimental. Stolen from a DARPA leak. With a 48-hour window before the feedback loop fried the host's neurons. Risky as hell. But the poetry of it? Irresistible. Victor had stolen my life. I'd steal his back.
Piece by piece.
The op went down on a Friday night. Halloween no less. When the city pulsed with masks and anonymity. Lena's crew, 3 ex-NSA code monkeys with grudges of their own, slipped the implant into my scalp during a routine dental check I'd faked for Victor's calendar. He bit. Of course. Always did for anything that smelled like free tech. The trigger was a micro-drone, disguised as a party favor at his annual gala. One zap from across the room, and the world inverted. I blacked out mid-champagne toast. Victor's laugh echoing in my skull. When I came to, it was his hands gripping the marble sink in his penthouse bathroom, his reflection staring back, steel gray eyes. Salt and pepper hair slicked just so. The man who'd made me beg for scraps now begged in my voice. Trapped in my scrawny frame. Pounding on the locked door of the motel room where Lena had stashed him. The power rush was intoxicating. Better than any drug. I rifled through his closet, slipping into a Tom Ford suit that hung like armor. The fabric whispering promises of dominion. His phone buzzed incessantly, board alerts. Mistress texts. SEC whispers about an anonymous tip Lena's doing. The sly fox. I ignored them, heading straight to Apex's after-hours server farm in the bowels of the building. Security waved me through. Who questions the king? The data center hummed like a hive. Rows of blinking servers holding the keys to Victor's kingdom, algorithmic trades, insider portfolios. The dark money funneled through Cayman trusts. I'd memorized the architecture during those mailroom days. Every firewall and backdoor etched in my brain like a prison tattoo. First strike, the slush fund drain. Victor's personal piggy bank. $50 mill in laundered kickbacks. Siphoned into crypto wallets I'd prepped under Lena's guidance. But that was appetizer. The main course? His high-frequency trading bot. The beast that skimmed milliseconds off the market to rake in billions. I injected a worm. Elegant, vicious code that Lena had brewed in her basement lab. It didn't crash the system. It whispered. Every hour. On the hour, it executed phantom cells, evaporating $1.2 million in value from Apex's positions. Not enough to trigger immediate alarms, but cumulative like acid eating through flesh. By dawn, I'd erased $4.80 mil, lounging in his office with a view of the Hudson, watching the first traders trickle in, oblivious. Victor, in my body, tried to fight back. Text from the burner Lena gave him. What the fuck is this? Give me back my life. I replied with a photo of his Amex Black card, maxed out on a one-way ticket to nowhere. Earn it back, sweetheart. Start with 75 cents an hour. The humiliation burned. I could feel it through the neural echo. A faint psychic aftertaste. He went public next, staggering into a precinct babbling about body swaps and corporate espionage. Cops laughed him off, meth head ramblings from a strung-out nobody in a threadbare hoodie. Lena's crew scrubbed the evidence. Fake psych evals. Planted baggies in his motel room. He was ghosted. A digital non-entity. While I wore his skin like a second chance. The board noticed by Monday. Stock dipped 2%. Whispers of market volatility. Victor's deputies, slimy VPs like Trent with his Rolex and wandering hands, hovered, sniffing weakness. I played the part, gruff nods, cryptic emails about recalibrating strategies. Behind the scenes, the worm burrowed deeper, targeting client funds. Pensioners in Ohio, teachers in Texas, the very folks Victor had screwed over with his Ponzi schemes. I hesitated once, staring at a manifest of accounts. Mrs.
E.
Harlan, 72. Widow. $47,000 nest egg. My mom's age. But then I remembered the plea bargain. The nights I'd cried myself sick. And hit enter. Another $1.20 mil vaporized. Fuck mercy. Mercy was what got me here. As the week wore on, the tension coiled like a spring. Media vultures circled, Apex stock tumbling 8%. CNBC speculating, insider sabotage. Victor's wife, that ice queen blonde, filed for divorce mid-melt, citing irreconcilable peculiarities. I laughed, a deep baritone rumble that felt foreign in my throat. Lena checked in via encrypted chat, neural sync holding at 87%. Push it too hard, and you'll glitch. But I couldn't stop. The revenge was a high. Dopamine floods sinking our stolen synapses. I leaked docs to whistleblower sites, Victor's emails calling me that trailer trash slut in board threads, the forged logs pinning the fraud on me. Hashtags exploded. Apex scam. Wall Street witch hunt. Protests brewed outside the building. Pitchforks for the digital age. By Friday, the worm had gnawed $50 mill. The board called an emergency meeting, suits sweating in the oak-paneled war room. Trent leaned in, breath like onions. Vic, what the hell? Clients are bolting. I fixed him with Victor's dead-eye stare. Panic is for amateurs. Trent. We're pivoting. Inside. I was electric. That night, I escalated. A macro virus that flipped by sell orders across the exchange. Dawn broke with markets in freefall, Apex hemorrhaging $200 mill in an hour. Sirens wailed as traders jumped from ledges. Metaphorically speaking. I watched from the penthouse. Scotch in hand. The city a glittering pyre. But cracks formed. The neural feedback intensified, phantom pains in my real body's joints. Victor's migraines, bleeding through. Lena warned. 48 hours up tomorrow. Extract now. I ignored her. One more push. The ultimate twist exposed the board's complicity. The senators on the take. It'd crater the firm. Send ripples through DC. But as I queued the upload, a file pinged, Victor's private vault, unlocked by my worm. Inside, not just ledgers, but blueprints. The swap tech? It wasn't Lena's invention. Victor had commissioned it, a year ago, from a black site lab.
For me.
Contingency for the intern, the memo read. If she flips, neutralize via neural override. Test subject Voss. The world tilted. Betrayal squared. He'd planned this, my downfall. The frame job as a dry run for the implant. I wasn't the victim, I was the prototype. Rage inverted to ice. Victor hadn't just stolen my life. He'd engineered it. Every humiliation a calibration. In my body, he'd wake fully synced, memories intact, while I faded. The twist gutted me. I was the monster now, wearing his skin to become him. I hit send anyway. The upload flooded the net, proof of Apex's rot, Victor's machinations, my innocence retroactively etched in code. Markets froze, feds swarmed. As the feedback loop screamed, neurons frying, I staggered to the window. Below, the mob chanted my name, Mila Voss, the ghost who'd toppled the giant. Victor, in my flesh, pounded on a squad car door, screaming truths no one believed. I smiled, tasting blood, his or mine, and jumped the sink. Blackness swallowed us both. In the aftermath, they called it the Voss Cascade, a market crash that shaved trillions, birthed regulations, and made me a martyr. Victor rotted in Bellevue, catatonic, my body a husk. Lena vanished with the tech.
Me?
They say a glitch preserved my consciousness in the cloud, a digital wraith haunting Apex's ruins. Or maybe I just died, free at last. Who knows? Revenge doesn't end clean. It echoes, controversial as sin, leaving you to argue if the fire was worth the ash. The glitch, if that's what it was, didn't kill me clean. I lingered in the ether, a fragmented echo bouncing through Apex's orphan servers, piecing together the fallout like a jigsaw from hell. Victor's body hit the pavement 30 stories down, splattered across the awning of a Dwayne Reed like modern art gone wrong. No note, no witnesses, just the king, dethroned by his own hubris. The tabloids ate it up. Wall Street suicide, CEO jumps amid scandal. They pin the crash on him. The worm on rogue coders from Eastern Europe. And me, Mila Voss, the mailroom phantom, emerged as the unlikely hero. My real body, Victor's prison, washed up in a psych ward, mumbling about swaps and stolen souls. Lena pulled strings, got her sprung with a fabricated identity, Mia Voss, amnesiac drifter from Reno. Clean slate, but scarred. I watched it all from the digital cracks, a voyeur in the machine. The SEC gutted Apex, auctions scattering its carcass to vulture funds. Trent and the VPs scattered like roaches, some to country clubs, others to Club Fed. The podcast Victor loved? It pivoted to Lessons from the Fall, narrated by a ghostwriter who sounded just like him. Irony. Thy name is America. My mom called the tip line. Voice cracking on CN. My girl's no crook. She was framed by that snake. They believed her. The leaks were ironclad. Offers poured in. Book deals. Netflix docs. TED slots for The Woman Who Crashed the Crash. Me declined them all. Holing up in a Catskills cabin Lena rented under a shell corp. The neural lace had left souvenirs, migraines that tasted like code, dreams where Victor's face melted into mine. But revenge isn't a one and done. It's a subscription service. Billing in regrets. Mia started small, testing the waters. A freelance coding gig here, a dark web bounty there. Lena reappeared, gaunt and grinning, with a prototype extractor. Pull your ghost out. Slot it back. But it's dicey, 50/50ths you'll fry. I, or whatever I was, balked. Freedom meant facing the mirror. The felony tat on my record. The years lost to a shadow. Instead, I puppeteered from afar, whispering through proxies. First target, Victor's ex. Cassandra, the socialite who'd lawyered up faster than a sprinter. She'd known about the fraud. Emails proved it, laughing over Rose as they plotted my downfall. Mia hacked her feeds, doxing affairs with pool boys and politicians, tanking her influencer empire. Cass lost the Hampton spread, crawling back to Daddy's oil money in Tulsa. Schadenfreude, pure and petty. Emboldened, we went bigger. The senators on Victor's Rolodex, beholden to apex packs, greenlighting deregulations that greased the scam. Mia, with Lena's scripts, engineered anonymous leaks, offshore accounts, hooker stipends, bribes disguised as consulting fees. Hearings erupted on C-SPAN, gray suits squirming under Klieg lights. 1. Senator Hargrove from Texas, the folksy drawl masking a fortune in cattle futures, stroked out mid-testimony, stress,
they said.
His seat flipped blue in the special. A progressive firebrand vowing corporate accountability. The echo chamber lit up. Fox called it witch hunts. MSNBC hailed vigilante justice. Mia watched from the cabin, nursing a beer, wondering if this was atonement or just extending the vendetta. The decisions got uglier. Lena pushed for the kill shot, infiltrate the Federal Reserve shadow network, the one Victor had bragged about backdoor access to. One nudge, she said, and you rewrite the bailouts, claw back billions for the little guys. Mia hesitated, fingers hovering over the keys. It was god-tier hubris, the kind that birthed Enron's and 2008's. But the worm's legacy lingered. I'd tasted the power, the erasure of empires with a keystroke. We did it on a snowbound night, the cabin creaking under Adirondack winds. Code flowed like venom, rerouting quantitative easing funds from Wall Street slush to community banks in Rust Belt towns. $800 billion redirected overnight. Markets hiccuped, Dow dipped 5%, gold spiked.
Crypto wept.
The Fed called it a glitch, but whispers spread, a ghost in the wires, avenging the overlooked. Cassandra struck back then, the viper uncoiling. She'd hired PIs, tracing Mia's digital breadcrumbs to the Catskills. One February dawn, black SUVs crunched up the drive, goons in tactical vests spilling out like a bad 80s thriller. Lena bolted through the back, vanishing into the woods with the laptop. Mia barricaded the door, heart hammering, Victor's phantom laugh in her ears. You think you can touch what he built? Cass sneered through the splintered wood, her face Botox taut under a fur hood. You're nothing, a cheap knockoff. Mia's reply? A Molotov through the window, improvised from lantern fuel and rage. Flames licked the porch, suits scattered. One singed bad enough for a lawsuit. Cass fled, screaming arson. But the cabin was leased to a ghost LLC. Charges stuck to no one. The fire purified, in a way. Mia relocated south, to a shotgun shack in New Orleans Bywater, where jazz wailed like wounded souls and the air hung heavy with ghosts of its own. Lena resurfaced months later, sporting a buzz cut and a neural scar like mine. The extractor's ready, she said over chicory coffee. But first, the truth. Turns out, Lena wasn't just a hacker ally. She'd been Victor's mole, embedded in the underbelly to monitor loose ends like me. The swap? Her betrayal. Commissioned to silence me permanently. But mid-op. Conscience glitch. Victor's files revealed he'd greenlit her sister's overdose cover-up, pinning it on a rival firm to spike stock. Lena flipped, mid-sync, saving my ghost at the cost of her soul's tether. We're both monsters now, she admitted, eyes hollow. Twist upon twist. That revelation cracked Mia open. Nights blurred into voodoo haze, absinthe benders. Tarot readings from a Creole mystic who saw doppelganger deaths in the cards. The revenge arc looped. Expose Lena's firm. The lab that birthed the lace? Or forgive? Merge our fractures into something new? Decisions piled like Mardi Gras beads, each heavier than the last. We chose the abyss. Infiltrated the lab, a sterile bunker in Nevada, guarded by mercs and NDAs. Mia posed as a DARPA auditor, Lena as tech support. Inside, servers hummed with swap prototypes, politicians, CEOs, all queued for contingencies. We torched it digital and literal, worms erasing data, thermite on the hardware. Alarms wailed as we fled into the desert, Joshua trees clawing at the stars. Fallout cascaded, Black Ops whispers, FBI tales, bounties on dark nets. Mia and Lena went underground, bouncing servers from Marrakesh to Moscow. The world shifted, swaps exposed as PSYOP tech, congressional probes birthing the Neural Rights Act, pensions restored, mailroom wages hiked nationwide. Heroes, they called us. But in the quiet, Mia stared at her reflection, my reflection, and saw Victor's smirk. The ultimate controversy. Had I become him? Erasing lives hourly, not in dollars, but in moral rot? Lena argued absolution. I tasted only ash. The desert run ended in a clobbered motel off Route 66. Neon buzzing, vacancy like a siren's call. Mia and Lena holed up there, chain-smoking camels and nursing bullet grazes from a botched border cross. The lab fire had bought time. But the hounds bayed closer, drones humming overhead, encrypted chatter from Langley painting us as domestic terrorists. We end this, Lena rasped, soldering a final extractor rig from scavenged parts. Pull the ghost. Seal the loop. Or we burn forever. Mia nodded, but doubt gnawed like termites. The neural echo had woven us tight, Victor's ruthlessness in my veins, my fury in his ghost. Extraction meant amputation, lose the power, reclaim the frailty. But frailty was freedom, wasn't it? Or just another cage? We timed it for eclipse night, the moon a blood-orange bite over the painted desert. The rig word, a jury-rigged Faraday cage of copper wire and spite, humming frequencies to yank my digitized self from the wild. Pain lanced through Mia's skull, synapses firing like fireworks gone wrong. Visions cascaded, Victor's childhood, beaten by a belt-wielding dad in a Jersey tenement, my own, Mom's cancer wards and eviction notices, Lena's sister, blue-lipped in a dorm tub, pills scattered like confetti. Layers peeled, revealing the core rot, not one villain, but a chain of them, each betrayal birthing the next. Victor hadn't framed me out of malice alone. He'd been framed once. By his mentor, passing the poison like a hot potato. We're all fall guys, Mia gasped, as the ghost coalesced, a shimmering orb in the rig's glow. Sync complete. I blinked into flesh. Mila Voss, whole again, slumped on the threadbare bed, tasting dust and diesel. The power vacuum hit like withdrawal, no more omnipotent keystrokes, just trembling hands and a felony shadow. Lena collapsed beside me, extractors sparking out. It's done, she whispered.
But done?
The world outside roiled. Our leaks had metastasized, neural swap scandals toppling cabinets, ethicists decrying soul theft on op-eds, while Silicon Valley VCs pivoted to ethical override startups. Protests clogged D.C. Signs reading "My body, my code." Mia, no. We had ignited a revolution, controversial as napalm, liberators or Luddites, saviors or saboteurs. Victor lingered in limbo, a vegetable in state care, his mind a fractured mosaic of our merged horrors. I visited once, incognito in a nurse's scrubs, staring at the husk that once housed my rage. "You feel that?" I murmured, squeezing the limp hand. "That's the weight of every dollar you erased from someone else's life." No response. Just monitors beeping like accusatory metronomes. Forgiveness?
Nah.
But understanding crept in, a bitter balm. He'd built the empire on stolen ground, same as me clawing from the trailer park. America, land of second chances, until the third one bankrupts you. Lena split then, chasing redemption in Berlin's hacker communes, leaving a thumb drive of clean funds, $2 mill, siphoned clean from the ashes. Build something, her note read. Not destroy. I drifted west, to LA's sprawl, where palm trees mocked the Midwest grit. Started small, a coding co-op for ex-cons, teaching Python to the framed and forgotten. No glory, just grind, $15 an hour. Fair wage. No humiliations. The feds circled, but leaks had neutered them, whistleblower shields thicker than ever. CNN profiled the co-op, dubbing me the erased Avenger, but I dodged the mic. Controversy simmered online, forums debating if my suicide was justice or murder, if the crash saved or starved the economy. Good. Let 'em argue. That's the American way, messy.
Loud.
Unresolved. Twists kept coming, because life ain't linear. 6 months in, a package arrived, Cassandra's old pearl necklace. Snap chain. Note in her looping script. You win. But did you? She'd OD'd on Xanax in a Miami penthouse. Accidental. Corner said. But her diaries screamed intent. Guilt? Or just another domino? I pawned the pearls. Funnel proceeds to Mom's nursing home. Closure tasted like stale coffee. Necessary. But no epiphany. The biopic pitch came next. From a Sundance darling with A-listers attached. Your story's gold, underdog swap. Market meltdown. Moral gray. I met the director in a Silver Lake cafe. Hipsters eavesdropping over oat lattes. Make it real, I said. No heroes. Just humans breaking even. They balked. Too you am. Too tense. Opted for the glossy version. Me as plucky saint. Victor cartoon villain. It bombed. Critics calling it trauma porn for the 1%. Vindication. Small and sour. Years blurred. The co-op grew. Franchising to Detroit and Philly. Training hundreds in the tools of erasure, ethical hacks. Not worms. Lena checked in sporadically. Her missives from Euro squats. Revolution's a slow burn. Victor flatlined quietly. Unremarked. I dated a barista named Jax. Tattoos and trust issues. Nights tangled in sheets that smelled like patchouli.
Not bourbon. Love.
Tentative as a beta test. But the echo lingered. Nightmares of plummeting stocks. Victor's laugh in the wind. The final twist dropped on a rainy solstice. Package from an anonymous sender, Lena. I guessed. Inside, The original implant chip, etched with coordinates to a Swiss vault. Victor's true fortune. $1.2 billion untouched. Booby-trapped with swaps for heirs he'd never have. Detonate it. And it funds global neural rights NGOs. Or claim it. Rebuild the empire my way. The decision loomed. Controversial fork. Phoenix or Pyre. I chose the burn. Mailed it to the ACLU. Anonymous drop. Let strangers wield the flame. Now, I walk the boardwalks. Salt air scouring the scars. Mila Voss. Survivor of swaps and schemes. Teaching kids that power's not in the code.
But the choice.
Is it happy? Hell no. Too many ghosts. Too much gray. But it's mine. Unswapped. Unerased. And in the quiet hours, when the city's hum fades, I hear the markets whisper, every hour. On the hour, another domino teeters. Who's next? That's the debate. The endless American tension, revenge as reset, or just the cycle spinning faster.